end of the session, so probably around 4 o'clock-ish, if there are any questions and answers that you'd like to have a look at based on this presentation. Okay, so I'm Naomi. In case any of you don't know me, I'm the Workforce Development Manager in, actually that should read North London Council's Adult Social Care Programme team. Sorry. Okay, so just briefly, the things I'm going to cover are updates around the recruitment campaign, Prince's Trust bid, digital innovations in adult social care, hospital discharge feedback, Proud to Care North London, Keeping Well NCL Hub, Skills for Care data collection. Laura Anthony's kindly offered to go through that slide from Skills for Care, and apprenticeships. So the feedback from, we ran the social care recruitment campaign from December to March this year. This was the digital campaign taking people through to our jobs board on Proud to Care for North London. We've recently received the evaluation and we're looking into it in terms of designing our future campaigns. But I just wanted to highlight to you, you can see, so this graph covers the data that we received on the website. And as you can see, it did increase. We had a little bit of a dip sort of around Christmas time, but then as of the new year came back up. But this big spike here is actually when the council advertising network team who we worked with on the campaign, they released some different visuals. So as you can see, we had a huge spike when we released the new visuals. So there's lots of learning that I think we could take forward from this. We'd also love your feedback as well, if you have any for during that time, in terms of the recruitment that you saw, if you were posting on Proud to Care. So yeah, please contact us about that, and we can also, I'll share my contact details at the end. So the Prince's Trust, so this is really exciting. We submitted a successful bid for a Prince's Trust secondee to come into the integrated care system. And their aim is to get 75 people into work within health and social care, with 60 of these sustained outcomes over 3 months. For those of you who don't know the Prince's Trust, this is a charity that works with young people. I think it's 16 to 30, but ours will be, I think the people will be targeting more sort of 18 to 30. And it helps with employment and sort of widening participation and access to employability. So it's a really, really good programme. The roles that we'll be looking to fill are entry-level roles in health and social care. So if you have any questions about this, or you'd like to get in touch with me, or you want more information, please do let me know. We have offered the role to a successful applicant and awaiting the start date at the moment. I'm hoping that will be sort of towards the start of May, maybe the middle of May. And I've written here about collaboration with our economic development teams, because they have really good links with job centres, and each of the councils have their own sort of employability programmes as well. But we'd love to get feedback as well from providers and things that you'd like us perhaps to look at, or different areas. So yeah, it would be great to work with you all on that. The next slide is about digitising social care. So there's been a lot of work recently. There's a new NHS white paper called People at the Heart of Care. And within this, there is a section specifically on digital sort of care innovation. So as I think I've mentioned before, we're currently looking at an acoustic monitoring project, which will be in care homes to help sort of reduce the risk of falls. We're currently looking to pilot this, and we've partnered with NHSX. I haven't got any feedback on that at the moment, but I should be getting some in the next few weeks as to sort of where the project is at, so I can feed that back as soon as I get it. I actually recently attended the TES conference in Birmingham, which is all to do with sort of telecare and digital innovation, acoustic monitoring. So that was really good. I got to see lots of excellent presentations. I also got to see some of the equipment that the companies are designing as well. And I met lots of really, really useful contacts. So I'm hoping to use some of that information on, some of the future projects that I'm running with digital. One thing I wanted to pick up on that I took from the conference is that instead of sort of referring to artificial intelligence and sort of AI, they really focused on making the technology sort of supportive, so making it assistive technology. There were lots of talks about co-designing it with customers and service users as well. So lots of really useful feedback. Another thing I just wanted to mention was the equity with sort of health innovation. So I attended another forum last week, which was about developing sort of technology and digital tools within social care, and how we then sort of build the infrastructure, get the evidence base for technology and how this can impact people's independence and well-being, and then demonstrate the benefits of this to the NHS so that it can inform future programmes. So another thing to update on is the hospital discharge. I understand that there was a meeting held with registered managers, the CCG and reps from North Central London, so local authorities, to discuss the pathways. I'm aware that I think especially the hospital teams found this quite eye-opening in terms of people's experiences. And I know that previously in these forums, we've talked about communication with customers, providers and families. So yeah, it was just to mention, I think there's lots of good work happening, and obviously in the future, I want to keep developing and improving upon this. So just briefly, Proud to Care North London. So we're currently updating the pages with lots of information about Keeping Well NCL, apprenticeships, and we're also looking to provide further guidance on health topics in the future, such as urinary tract infections and catheter care. We have got a bit of a shortage at the moment with job adverts. So as always, a big push, please, if you would like to, and if you can, upload your jobs onto there. And if you ever have any difficulties with that, then please do let us know so that we can support you. We have already gathered some good feedback from providers who uploaded jobs during the campaign. We just need to sort of compile that at the moment and build it into the evaluation. And yeah, just a question to you all is, we can come back to later, is how can Proud to Care North London support you more? What would you like to see? I just briefly wanted to cover Keeping Well NCL Hub, which I know that we discussed last time. So I hope you've gotten the information. These slides will all be sent out. It's just really to keep enforcing the fact that this service is there, and referrals are very welcome. I think moving forwards, I'd like to be seeing, how many referrals we're getting and try and build this model in to the frameworks. Is Laura here? Sorry, I can't actually see the who's in the meeting now. Do we know if Laura Anthony is on the call? If not, I can do the slide.
I don't think she is, no.
Okay. So this is about the adult social care workforce data set. You've probably received a request in the past. But effectively, the data that we're able to collect informs lots of our future programmes, lots of our funding bids as well. And this is all collected by Skills for Care. So if you'd like to have a further look at this afterwards, and you can either direct questions to me or I can forward them on to Laura. I think this is my last slide. So just again about apprenticeships, there's a couple of information sessions coming up in May. So one on the 10th of 5th and one on the 17th. One is for employers, one for employees. The links are all there to the Eventbrite registration. So hopefully those should work from the slide pack. And I think that's me. Sorry, Benny, I'm not sure if I've run over, if I was okay.
No, perfect on time. Thank you, Naomi. A lot of information there. I'm guessing that people might have some questions, but yeah. I can see that we've got a slot at the end for
Yes.
for questions about, well, anything, but in particular workforce
Yeah, preferably.
stuff. So if you do have questions, just write them down now for yourself, or you can put them in the chat if you don't want to lose them, and then we will come back and we'll interrogate Naomi on what she said. And you can see Naomi just whilst we move on, you can see in this chat there are some questions already and some conversations that have been taking place. So
Oh, great.
you might
Okay,
want to pick those up
I will do. Thank you.
at a later point. So when we started talking, I remembered I'd actually forgot to tell you who I was. That's probably because I'm very arrogant and I assume that everybody knows who I am. But if you don't know who I am, I'm Bindi Nagra and I'm the Director of Health and Adult Social Care at Enfield Council. So apologies for not introducing myself properly. So our next speaker is Duncan Patterson from CQC, and he's going to do a presentation on how we can all improve our CQC rating. The home that the council runs in Enfield has good, so we would like it to be, what's the top rating, Duncan? Outstanding. Excellent, excellent. That's the one. We want to be excellent as well. So I'll be listening with great intent to achieve that at some point. So over to you, Duncan. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just going to share my screen so you can see the presentation. Hopefully you can see that. It now means I can't see anything, so because someone could let me know.
It's not come up yet. Let's just give it a second. No, we've not got anything yet, I don't think.
Okay, perhaps it hasn't worked.
Something's happening, I think. Yes, there we go. We've got your emails. Ah, there we go.
Okay.
Brilliant. You might want to just try and put that into slide mode. Excellent. Well done. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So thank you for the introduction. Yeah, so I'm Duncan Patterson. I'm actually an inspection manager with the Care Quality Commission, and I cover not all of this area, but Brent and Harrow. So that's not covered by this forum, but I do cover Camden and Islington. So I may know some of you at the meeting. Others I don't know. So I don't know. I haven't been to this sort of network before. So I'm going to give you apologies that some of this may well be very well known to you, but I'm going to give you our sort of standard CQC presentation to begin with. So it's not that long, but it gives you background information to say where our position is at the moment, because obviously that's been affected by the pandemic. Going to mention our CQC strategy, which is now more than a year old, and then talk about our new monitoring approach, because we have these bandings now. So I'll explain a bit more about that. And then I'm going to talk about other organisations that can help, and also I'm going to mention CQC resources that may help with ratings. And then I think it would be questions, because as I say, I haven't been to the forum before, so I'm not sure exactly of the ask. So you can clarify some of that through questions, etc. So, as you probably know, Care Quality Commission is the independent regulator of health and social care in England. So what we aim to do is to make sure services provide people with safe, effective, compassionate, high quality care. And what's now stressed in our new strategy, we always did do this, but it's stressed a lot more now. It's about encouraging improvement. So just setting the scene, because we have moved away in the past. Pre-pandemic, we had an inspection strategy which involved a program which involved inspecting all services based on the rating. Now that was affected by the pandemic, we changed our strategy a great deal there. We focused a lot more on services that might be seen as risky, or services where we needed to look at infection prevention and control. So we did far fewer inspections as well. So that's part of the picture. We had a recovery plan in place. We have our new strategy as well, so we're working towards that at the same time. And our focus is on being more targeted in our regulatory activity. So we're not necessarily going to every single location. We've got more emphasis on data and intelligence and bringing it all together in one place. We'll say a bit more about that later, but that's very much the way we work now. And in terms of our strategy, we're developing elements about how we want to work in the future. So I'll say a bit more about that as well. So that's basically setting the scene. Just to mention the strategy, so you've got some idea of it. It's been in place for a year now, but it sets out, it's a 5-year strategy, so it's not all going to come in immediately. But this is what we're working on. So we've got 4 themes: people and communities, smarter regulation, a focus on safety and through looking and learning as to what's happened, and also, as I said earlier, accelerating improvements. And the 2 ambitions here are assessing local systems. So that's very much in the sort of changing world. We now have ICSs, we've got health and social care working together, and we need to be able to assess what's happening locally. So we're going to be doing that much more. And also an ambition about tackling inequalities in health and care. So year 1, we've now passed that. We're pretty much in year 2. So we've been year 1, we've been looking how we monitor risk. We are still testing our new assessment framework. That actually won't be ready till the autumn, but that's well underway. We're using our insight from this work to drive improvement. So we do have a number of insight reports. I'll mention those later, and probably you're familiar with those already. We're also going to carry out further research and engagement to develop our work, and we're going to look more about the local systems. So we have been working with ICSs in London. There's 5 in London, so we're working with all of those. They're all at different stages, and also within the Care Quality Commission, because you probably know we have 3 directorates. Adult social care is just one. We have hospitals and primary medical services as well. And it's about us working with our colleagues, and we're moving to multidisciplinary teams as well later this year. So quite a lot of change and innovation. This white paper is actually not a white paper, it's now the law now. So we've set up, this was how CQC was involved in this. So the ICSs are set up now, so we're working with those. There's a data sharing duty, but I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. Similarly, with this health safety investigation body, but important for you all probably is the local authority assurance work. So we will be doing that. Some of you might have been involved in it already. We've done some piloting. It's now the law that this happens, but this year it will be a year. This year will be doing more piloting, more shadowing, and working this up so that it can be become operative in a year's time. So I think the aim there is April next year for that to come in formally, but that's very much on the agenda. This is the changing landscape, as I think I've mentioned. So we brought in the new strategy because we needed to keep pace. Our old strategy was the past 5 years, so things have changed quite a bit. We need to be smarter in the way we regulate, more flexible, etc. We have to work across health and social care systems and reduce complexity where we can. So that's the changing landscape, what we're working within. Now, just say something about the new monitoring approach, because this would affect you in terms of rating. So we moved last year, we moved to our system of banding all providers. So if you're providing a service and you're registered with CQC, you will come into one of 3 bandings. So 1, 2, and 3. Now I think the next slide tells you a bit more about it. Yeah, so each month we carry out a review of services each month, and that's our data and intelligence team that do that, and based on all the information we have to hand, and we determine which bandings a location is in. So band 1 would be low, and we do have a public statement on our website saying that it's updated each month, saying we don't have current concerns, and with the rate, the banding is band 1. I'm going to just quickly go to the. This is what we. Yeah, I think this is it. We are assured of the quality of care. So it says that on our website. Just to go back. That would be the vast majority of services, locations, and you could only be band 1 and low if you were rated good. Medium, band 2, you're more likely to be requires improvement in that category. And I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. High, band 3, this is the smallest range or smallest category in terms of numbers, and this is where our intelligence is saying there's some risk here, and we would be carrying out an inspection if it was band 3 or high. Also in this category are some locations that don't have a rating at the moment. So that would be new ones, new locations, or there might have been a change in the legal entity and they don't have a rating yet. Not all of them, it's ones where they've been unrated for 1 year. So that's the position there. In terms of medium, band 2, we do have a separate team who carry out what we call a direct monitoring approach, and they will do a desk-based assessment of those services, the outcome of which would be either we're satisfied that things are smooth and there's no need to do an inspection, or the second one would be, well, we're not satisfied and we will carry out what we call a regulatory activity, which most of the time would be an inspection. So the next few slides, this gives you will have these slides. This is quite a complex slide to follow at the moment, but it hopefully gives you in a slide form what I've just said. So we do on the left, we do our information review each month. We determine, is it high, medium or low? If it's low, we publish a statement. If it's medium, we do our direct monitoring approach, DMA it says there, and that determines whether we inspect or not. And the high category, band 3, we would do an inspection. So you'll be able to study that at leisure. And we do communicate, as I was saying. So if it's band 1, low risk, we do put this public statement on our internet, and it's found if it's your service, you can find it on your page where we have your rating and the reports. And then we do the direct monitoring activity. We will, if we're assured, we will send you information. If we're not assured, we would do an inspection, then you would get a report. So that's all I'm going to say there. You may well have questions on that because it's good to clarify. But I'm going to now move on to other work we do, just to mention this. So we do have regular meetings with local authorities, so I may well be meeting with some of you. For large providers, we do have a provider relationship team. So many of you may work for some of these providers, or they may be in your local area. So they're large providers who have, quite often 100 or so locations in the country. So we have individual contact with local authorities, and obviously we do have some role within safeguarding as well to take part in that process. Other CQC work, we have done provider collaboration reviews, so that's very similar to what I was saying about health and social care working together. We did do one in North London, I think it was covering learning disabilities, mental health last year. And they were very much setting us up for the future, so we'll obviously be doing more of that. Just to highlight here, I mentioned insight reports as well. So during that started in the pandemic, and we produced those on a regular basis. I'll give you an example later. State of care is our annual report. We've been doing some recent work on closed cultures, and there is the updated learning disability guidance, right support, right care, right culture, which hopefully will be familiar to you all. I'm now going to say a little bit about other organisations and how they can help you if you're interested in a rating. Although I do have to say, you probably do realise already that because we aren't doing that traditional inspection programme, we're not going to a number of places. So it may be like we haven't been to your service for some time, and we may not have plans to in the near future. I would say on that we're inspecting at the moment to establish principles which are in place till June, so that may well change. And when we have our regulatory platform later in the year, that may also change as well. But I do need to stress it's not quite the same as it used to be. So in terms of help, again, I'm sure you are familiar with all of these things. So we have something called the Outstanding Society. Hopefully this will work. I'll just quickly go on to the open them up so you can see it. Yep, it's working. Just about. So this is the Outstanding Society came together a few years ago, and it was those providers who had been rated outstanding. They wanted to come together and share learning, and they do actually have a newsletter. So this is their website. So that's just to give you an idea about it. Some of you might be familiar with that. We also have Skills for Care, mentioned already, but they do have this really useful inspection toolkit. Again, you might be familiar with. I just open this up. So this, when you get, if you aren't familiar with it, you can use this PowerPoint when you get it to open these links, and it'll take you there. So this is really good. It's sort of a work toolkit, workbook. These are all the domains that we have when you have an inspection: safe, effective, caring, responsive, and well led. And this should help you prepare to see what's asked for, and also good practice. So those are really good. And then CQC resources, the newsletter, you may well be familiar with this. If not, it's really useful to get hold of it. And I'm just going to open this up. If I can, this link will take us hopefully to the CQC internet page. We don't have the easiest website in the world, but this this takes you to the page where lower down we have the newsletters. You can subscribe. Many of you probably do already, so you may well be getting this newsletter. But if not, you can subscribe, but you can also get hold of the newsletters here. And the most recent one, 14th of April. So it comes out every 2 weeks or so. So you get information there, which is really helpful. So that's one thing. Another thing is if you're interested in becoming outstanding, you can see which services have been rated outstanding recently on our website. You may be familiar with this already. So this is our basic. I think this is the home page, and if you scroll down, you get to, these are the past month's ratings, and in the past month we've rated 12 locations outstanding. So you can just click on here and it'll take you to, hopefully, all the 12 locations, and you can look at those. One thing you do have to bear in mind is, I quickly looked at this earlier, that it's the whole, it's not just adult social care, it's the whole of registered services. So this hospice, for example, comes under our hospitals team, and this one I'm pretty sure is probably in hospitals as well, but there are some adult social care services. So that's that. This is the insight report. I'll just quickly go on here because you might have seen it. I think it came out, the last one was January. And it covers some relevant things for adult social care. So this is it, issue 15, yeah, 18th of January. So staff vacancies in care homes. So that sort of links with potentially with what Naomi was talking about earlier. And then we have ethnicity data recording in mental health. So that may well be of interest to you as well. And then we do have, if you're interested in data, we do regular data updates in there, which can be useful if you're comparing yourselves with others, that type of thing. Then we have state of care. I won't open that because it's our annual report, so you probably are familiar with it. It's a little, it's not out of date, but it comes out in the autumn, so we're a bit further down the road, but that's a useful document as well. But I'll just mention this equally outstanding because you may well be familiar with this. Again, this is 2018, but it's really worth looking at because this is the page here. You get a document, equally outstanding document, which is actually really detailed, gives you case studies, and the argument is that providers where they are outstanding, they are usually extremely good in terms of equality, diversity, and providing services that take that into account. And all of these things here, we're saying that there are all these cases here. It's not just because it's legal, it's ethical, business, because you involve all ranges of people, and generally you have better buy-in and also better care provision, and also economic case. So it's really useful to be mindful of that because you can see what's happened elsewhere, potentially adopt that in your own service as well. So that was just a quick run through. So as I say, it's really about questions, because you may well have questions about what I've said, or you may have specific questions about your own location. So I'm going to end it there.
Thank you, Duncan. So I'll open the floor up. Do you want to, if people want to put their hands up, that's probably the easiest way to go. Any questions from anybody? So I'll ask the first question whilst people are thinking. So Duncan, you mentioned the regularity of CQC inspections.
Yeah.
So is there I know a kind of criteria that you're applying? So are you visiting some homes more frequently than others, or is it pretty random?
No, good question. We do have, at the moment, we are inspecting to what we're calling our inspection priorities. And this has changed quite a bit. So at the moment, we have our current inspection priorities are sort of March till the end of June. And they are as follows. The band 3 I was telling you about. So we're expected to inspect those services. So they are ones where we have identified through our intelligence there's some risk here, or there's potential risk because there's no rating. We haven't done an inspection. So there are all of those locations. Then there are what we're saying emerging risk. So through our work, perhaps because of complaints or whistleblowing or maybe safeguarding, intelligence is coming to us and saying, well, we're interpreting that as saying there's risk here. So those would be risk-based inspections. In addition to that, we're doing quality monitoring. So the band 1 locations I mentioned, although we wouldn't be routinely inspecting there, we're doing quality monitoring of a range of those each month just to check that we've got our bandings right. So are those locations really good? And then we are doing some services where there may have been improvement. So that's a smaller number, but our direct monitoring approach team, you remember I mentioned them, when they do their review, their desktop review, they might identify actually this location, what we're finding here, there's been improvement. We recommend an inspection takes place. So that's one route in. Another route may be that through intelligence, etc., we're having information that suggests there's been improvement. And it may be that local authorities or commissioners of care are saying, look, the rating here is causing a local problem because we really want to buy services from this provider, but their rating requires improvement. That's stopping us, and we think there's been some improvement. So it's kind of dialogue in that way. Okay, and as I said, that's in place till June. It may well change after that.
Yeah, that's helpful to understand. Thank you. Adrienne.
I just had a question about the direct monitoring activity.
Yeah.
If you're able just to describe, could you talk about the desk-based process? What do you do as part of that process then?
Good question. Right, okay, I'll try and explain. It's quite new. Well, what we do, we basically we have the same system. You know, we have our domain safe, well-led, caring, responsive, etc. So we do have those, and we have the CLOEs. You're probably familiar with those key lines of inquiry. So we've adapted some of those, and what we do is gather together information from our existing resources about that service, and check. So first of all, it's a sweep of information, and we check with the CLOEs, and it may be that we're satisfied at that stage. It may be also that we're not, and we need to gather together a bit more information from the provider. We'd always have a telephone call with the provider. And we also look at what we call service user voice. It may be a bit clunky calling it that, but we look at, well, what existing information do we have from people using that service? So we may well have relevant information we can use. If not, we can go out and provide it. So generally, we're going out to get that information as well. We do have experts by experience who work with us, and we ask them to contact people using services and gather feedback in that way. So it's a range of information there that we use to do that. So it's basically things available to us which doesn't involve going to the service.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it'd be a good idea to get all those people to send in nice comments about you, Adrienne.
So we do have. I should add to it. We do have the share your experience.
There's that phrase, isn't there? You know, about managing your reputation. You know.
Yeah.
It's like manage it through other people.
Yeah. So we do have a form that people fill in to give comments about providers and locations. So we take that into consideration as well. So what you're saying there could come that route as well.
Yeah. Good. That's helpful. All helpful intelligence. Diana, sorry.
That's fine. Thank you. So, Duncan, I just wanted to find out for those that are on the low bands, for instance, and for let's just say that you don't receive any sort of quality information regarding any issues, etc. If, say, 2 or 3 years lapsed and you hadn't gone in to do any quality checks per se because it seemed to be all going fine, is there a period of which you will actually go in and check, say, every 5 years if they haven't been seen, etc.?
No, that's a good question, Diane. There isn't at the moment that system, no. So you may find there are a number of providers where we wouldn't necessarily have inspected for possibly 3 years because of the pandemic. So you may be in that category. So I think it's a good suggestion because as I said, our priorities are in place till just later this year. Then we have our regulatory platform. At the moment, there isn't like a backstop of like you're suggesting of 5 years when we should carry out an inspection, but that seems quite a good suggestion. So I think we could take that forward. So at the moment, it would rely upon you might have an inspection because we're doing our quality checks that I was talking about. You might have a direct monitoring approach, which then says, well, I think we should carry out an inspection. Or our monthly intelligence that could be a trigger. Well, we haven't inspected here for 5 years. What assurance do we have that things are safe? So you could come into that category, but at the moment we don't have that backstop position, no.
Thank you.
Good. Anybody else got any questions? I think there might have been a couple in the chat.
I think there are a couple from Doug.
Yeah, there was one. Are we able to see what banding we are in?
Well, yes, you can. Band 1, it would be on our website on your page. So if you're a registered service, you just navigate to our website where you are, and I think it's a little bit hidden, but you should be able to, if you look into it, where I think it says more information, and then there's one of those, I think it might be a question mark. If you hover over it, you can see, but there's only band 1, so you do have to bear that in mind. But by process of elimination, if you're not in band 1, you're either going to be band 2 or band 3. And your most would be band 2. Band 3 would be, the locations we're talking about there would probably be ones where the rating may well be inadequate. So you'd probably think, well, if you're inadequate, you probably think you're band 3. Or you're new and there's no rating and it's been that way for 12 months. So then you would be 3. So it's sort of a little bit of a process of elimination. But the majority are band 1. So you should see something.
Yeah, good. I got Doug Wilson. Doug?
Yeah, thank you, Bindi. Thank you, Duncan. You've answered a couple of my questions.
Okay.
Just one other one. I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't, but that your rating can't change without an in situ inspection visit. So you're not going to go up or down without being seen. Is that right?
That's a really good question, because in our consultation, you may remember that when we produced the strategy, just before that we had 2 consultations. So we're going back, must have been the winter, sort of Christmas 2020. We asked exactly that question. And I think our position is, confusingly, that we could do that. But at the moment, no, your rating can't change unless you have the inspection. But sort of be mindful of the fact that something like that could happen in the future. We were certainly looking at it. So as we develop our strategy, that could come into place. But it's certainly not the position at the moment. So I don't want you to get worried. You're not going to have your rating change without you knowing about it. But at the moment, no, it's only on the visit. Oh wait, sorry, it's quite confusing. A domiciliary care service, we do now have remote inspections for those services. So it's possible that we do a remote inspection, and we would change the rating there. So some of you might have experienced that, or you could do in the future. So it's a little bit confusing, but it's possible, but certainly not for a care home. No, we wouldn't be doing that there.
Okay, brilliant. Right, I can't see any other questions or hands up. So I think we're probably at the end. So yeah, okay, brilliant. If there's nothing else, sorry, Naomi.
Sorry, there is one, but it only just came in from Ali, right? About the filled in, can you see it at the bottom?
Oh yes. Well, yeah, good. Probably, Ali, you may well be talking about on provider information return. Do you think it's that? Yeah, yeah. Okay, so is this? Yeah, it is. Yes, you're right. So again, we used to do this pre-pandemic, and then it stopped during the pandemic, but we've restarted it. And just to say about this, we're sending it out on the anniversary of when you were registered. So you'd be able to tell that from your certificate, because it would say on your certificate. So you're not all going to get it, and we're doing that so that it's more manageable, but you will over time. I think we've been doing it since the autumn, perhaps the late autumn. So over time you will all be getting this. And yes, we will be using that as part of our data capture, yes. But this is hopefully a good thing for you. I know in the past it was horrendous. It took absolutely ages to fill in. Hopefully it's now easier, but it does allow you to talk about your service. It allows you to do a sort of review, I guess, and also say, well, what are the good parts? What are you doing well? What are you trying to do? So it's really helpful for us, that sort of information. Although I recognise for you it's a lot of work.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, Duncan. That's been very illuminating, and some good links there to different things that people can have a look at to assist them. I'm going to move on now. So thank you for coming, Duncan. You're welcome to stay. Oh, hang on, there's something else. Would the new proposed rating supersede the existing one? And if yes, would the providers be informed? Would the new proposed rating supersede the existing? Okay, go on. Okay.
Well, the answer is yes, and the way it would work. So you'd really get it. You'd only get it because through a report. So we'd send you probably familiar with the process. So we've done an inspection. We then send you the inspection report, and it's in draft form, and on that will say the rating. So a lot of the time your rating might stay the same. So no real change. But if it did change, it would say it in the report, and that's how you would find out. And you would have the opportunity to send in what we call factual accuracy comments. So it's not public at that stage. Once that, I think it's a period of 2 weeks. Once that's passed, it then becomes a public report. So that's how you would know. And then there is this other.
Yeah, so Des is just asking, I think you have answered it, about inadequate providers. If the local teams think that they are improved, would it be possible for CQC to inspect them? And I think you've said yes, potentially it is. Yes,
that's right.
About
supported living.
Oh, there's loads of questions coming in now. Look at this.
The support, it's hard. It's a little difficult to answer in a way, because you're right, personal care is the main thing. So that's the criteria we use. So there may be a number of providers where they're not registered because we're saying, well, personal care is not provided. Supported living might come into that category, but we do have quite a few providers where, they might be providing care to, say, 6 people, and only one is in receipt of personal care, but we'd still carry out an inspection. But we'd have to be a bit careful, and we'd be a bit limited on our findings, because it would be totally unfair just to cover non-personal care and then put all that evidence in a inspection report. So we'd have to be a bit careful. So it's hard to give a straight answer to that, but you would know if you were registered, and we'd obviously be mindful of who was receiving personal care. I mean, on the other hand, we would sort of interrogate that as well. Is it really the case that someone isn't receiving personal care? We'd probably cover that on an inspection as well.
Thank you. And this is a big issue for councils, that we have, these providers who are, looking after people. Let's use that term, looking after very vulnerable people, but are outside of any formal regulation. It is a big issue for councils and for the individuals living there. So.
It is, yeah.
I appreciate your dilemma at CQC, but I think, from my perspective as a director, I think the government should take action to find a way of formally regulating these providers.
I would agree with that. It's very difficult, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they may have a number of parts to them, and we don't always know about them. Things like that come into it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Once again, I'll say thank you, Duncan.
Okay, no problem.
I think that's the end of our questions. Really, really helpful and very informative, as I think Adriana has said in the chat. So thank you for that. So we're going to move on to, and you're welcome to stay to hear the next bit. I think, Naomi, you're going to take over at this point, and we're looking for questions around kind of workforce in particular, but happy to have questions to myself or the other team members that are here.
Thanks, Bindi. Yeah, we can do the questions and answers for me first.
Oh, hang on.
I think we were planning to do the breakout rooms next.
I do
No,
apologise.
it's fine. It's fine. I mean,
okay.
I don't mind
Okay.
rearranging.
So do you want to do the breakout rooms now then?
I think if that's all right, because I think Nathan's just posted the questions. So that's no problem, Kerry. Yeah, so I think Nathan's going to pop us into breakout rooms, and we'll take roughly 20 minutes. So we'll be coming back just before sort of 10 to, just after 4:45. Yeah. So over to you, Nathan.
Okay. So
Thank
everyone's
you.
moving over now. Everybody, fingers crossed. And I'll be posting the questions in the chat. Hopefully.
I don't know why, but when we're
Oh, I think it's happening.
Moved in 10 seconds. It's
Oh. Hi, Ramin. We'll just move you in a minute. Sorry about that. There you go. Hello, sorry. I think you've been kicked out of the meeting. I'm just going to re-sign you, or I don't know if you're leaving, but you should be able to leave from the other meeting as well. Just want to make sure. Right. One should be moving over now. All right, Remy. I believe you should have got an invite for another room.
Oh, that's funny. I was literally saying I normally get cut off mid-sentence, and then
Ba-bum.
it's probably a good thing.
I'm back.
You're back.
Well, that's a big relief for me.
Stop it.
Were you worried about us, Bindi?
No,
Getting
I was
lost
worried,
somewhere in the ether.
I was worried about myself wandering around the corridors trying to find the right room.
The virtual corridor.
If we were in a conference centre, I'd be like, where am I going now? What am I doing? I'd just be following some people and hope that they were the right people. I'd be like, oh, well, they look like a provider. I'll follow them. They look clean and smell of soap. They must be a provider.
Mad.
I'm trying to stereotype what a provider would look
Yeah, I
like.
was gonna say, never assume.
Clean and smelling of soap is all I can come up with. It's not great, is it?
Well, that's a good start, I think.
Okay, Naomi.
Yes.
Am I in the right place? Questions and answers.
You are. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I hope people found those conversations, thought-provoking. I think. I mean, I think sometimes we struggle with the mound of possibilities and information available to us, and I think that sense of being overwhelmed sometimes creeps in. But it is thought-provoking about the how you might go about improving your assurance and rating. That was what we discussed. I'm assuming the same question in both, was it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just open up the floor. Any questions about any topics, and we will try and answer them.
Yes.
Got a hand up from Adrian.
Bindi, it's just a question particularly about the fourth vaccine for residents. In our Enfield home, we're struggling. The other two homes have had it, but we're linked to one practice who seems to be really struggling, and it seems to be important to me as well, because I've also got staff requesting face mask exemptions and all sorts of things. So I'd feel much happier if our residents could have had their fourth jab. And it's interesting because in the other two homes, different boroughs, but that's all been sorted. Do you know anything, Bindi, about how it's going?
I don't, but if you email Doug or Des, what we'll do is we'll talk to the Director of Public Health and ask them to intervene on our behalf, because she leads on vaccines for the borough, so she can either talk to the practices direct or talk to the NHS lead that organises vaccine. But if you're having a problem, let's get it in the system and let's try and sort it for you. So email Des and Doug, and they'll speak to Dudu and we'll get it sorted.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions they wanted to put? Anything, it doesn't matter what it is.
Sorry,
Yes,
just to briefly mention, we've seen the message from Ali, and I've asked Nathan to have a look into that. So I'm really sorry that happened.
Sorry,
What was
Alex.
that? What was that?
I think it's a technical fault with the breakout room.
Yeah, I think just during the breakout rooms, I don't know. You were able to hear Ali, can you? I don't know if you're on the call, if you can hear me. But I'm gonna try and look into that just for next time. I don't know what happened there, maybe some kind of technical issues.
And if you
I-
have anything that you want to send to us
I
in
had
writing. Oh, sorry.
similar thing where when I went into the breakout room, there was no visual, and I couldn't. It was like a black box. So I stayed in the room just to kind of learn, but I couldn't contribute much, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you, though.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ali.
We will be able.
Sorry,
it might have been a connection issue or something with your teams. It can happen, and sometimes the only option is to reboot. So yeah, but it's difficult.
We will. I can also collate all the feedback and send that to people if that's helpful as well. just sorry that you couldn't contribute. But if you have anything that you want to send to me, outside, then that would be great.
Oh,
So,
thank you, Amy. Thank you.
yeah, no worries.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry, Bindi, you were saying if anyone has any
Yeah. Is there
questions.
anybody else want to ask anything? Anything? We can answer all questions. What's Boris gonna do next?
What are the lottery tickets coming up?
Not is the Euro Millions tonight is not a 90 million.
Worth a shot.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice.
Definitely.
I was
Right.
going to say also, just briefly, one thing I've realised I didn't update people on was the work. Oh, sorry, Shima. Shall I maybe No, I'll let you ask your question and then I'll come back to what I was going to say. That's fine. I think you're still on mute.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Shima.
Sorry, yes, it's just about recruitment and how you guys are finding it, specifically for specific things like autistic accreditation lead, things like that. We're struggling with job boards. I think we have some feedback from Johanna on here in terms of going on to NCL. I know she was in contact with Nathan at some point, and I think there was no response. But for us who do pay minimum wage, it goes up. We're struggling a lot. I don't know how you guys are finding it.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good question. So at the moment, I think I mentioned earlier that we don't have very many jobs on Proud to Care North London. So we would like to increase that. But in terms of not getting a response from do you mean you didn't get a response from the advert that you put out on Proud to Care North London? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually think, Naomi, it might have been the lower rate, because I saw there were quite a few ads up there from like 10.50 up until maybe 11.50, and we're offering minimum wage. So I think it's more that, because the platform itself is so easy to use, really smooth.
Good.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Thank you. Okay, so it might be something to discuss. I was just going to say, if you wanted to meet with us as well, just thinking out loud, because I don't know whether you got, I would need to have a look at your advert, sorry, and your company, because I'm not very familiar with it myself. But there is some support on Proud to Care North London about how to sort of maximise attention for the job descriptions and like selling yourself and all the benefits, like well-being benefits that you provide, flexibility, work-life balance, lots of those things that are really important to our sort of workforce. So we'd be happy, to meet and have a look at that if it's helpful. And in terms of autism specifically as a recruitment area, again, I'm not overly familiar with it sort of as more of a specialist sort of skill need. But Nathan might know a little bit more, and we're happy to have a look.
Yeah, no, if anyone has any kind of questions in regards to Proud to Care, or how to upload jobs, or even just the actual what to put in there, the job specifications. I mean, you guys are the pro, but I have been to a lot of seminars where I've had to listen to quite a few people tell me what the best ways to attract people are. So I can kind of share that kind of knowledge with you, kind of give you some information. So yeah, do feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat, or Naomi, and if anything, we can try and help build the workforce. We often do events with schools and colleges. So if you are local to a college or a university, on one of the events that I attend, I can offer to say I'll bring you along. I can't bring everyone along, but if you're near Barnet College, then I can say there's a provider around the corner, come along to this event with us. So yes, we want to help you build the kind of connections as well. So it's not just the job site, but building the connection so you guys can just speak to the college or you know, a job centre yourselves.
Yeah, we're trying to do a lot more engagement at the moment. So Nathan is fantastic. He goes to lots of job fairs and he also goes to schools as well to talk to people. So yeah, we're, you know,
we
looking
did
forward to being
find
able to promote.
Yeah.
when we did some of the recruitment fairs at colleges, though, sorry, it was difficult because we found that the line for the NHS stand was huge and everybody else was sitting waiting to see people. So we found that and we've also gone to the London living wage as well, which we thought would make a big difference. It's still a big struggle, and our struggle is also, it's also about the quality. So the problem is that, and I think as Shamir's saying, we're trying on all sorts of job boards. We did find, I mean, I run a sort of electronic report. We didn't get anything from Proud to Care, I'm afraid. So, and probably the fact that you have to keep refreshing it, we've probably sort of given up and just gone to other job boards. You know, helpful, but it would be good to improve it.
Okay, very
Shamir's
quickly.
Shamir's had his hand up. For
I didn't know if that was the same hand. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, thanks. No, we found going to colleges and in Tottenham quite fruitful, actually. Giving presentations, that was great. You know, had one or two very, very good staff come through that. I was also going to ask if any providers have gone through, you know, the support from the local authority to get the London living wage and how they found that experience. Like, you know, the pool of money that helps organisations to get staff to London living wage, for instance, Haringey.
So if I can respond, so Haringey Council has a specific policy to pay London living wage to all of its providers. So they have found the money, which is many millions of pounds, to do that as a policy position for that council. That's where they've decided to prioritise their resources, and that's not the same for all councils. So I think it depends on which council area you're in as to whether the London living wage is the issue that council wants to prioritise or not. Certainly, I can tell you in Enfield, the council would like to pay London living wage, but you know, our calculations of the cost of moving to the London living wage is probably, you know, between kind of £7 and £10 million if we did it in one go. And I think for Enfield at the moment, they've just not been able to, you know, despite the desire, not been able to move to that rate as quickly as perhaps other councils have. But so it's a mixed picture depending on the council. I think the other thing I would say, you know, as a commissioner is if all recruitment issues were resolved by paying the London living wage, I suspect every council in the country would do it, or every council in London, if you're talking about the London living wage, every council in London would do it immediately. But the reality is that our experience is that if you pay more, you don't necessarily recruit the staff. So I think, you know, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, personally, obviously, I would like to pay the London living wage, you know, as would the administration in Enfield, because, you know, morally, it feels like the right thing to do. But you know, it has to be balanced, I guess, with other council priorities, and also the benefit that it's going to achieve in terms of resolving some issues like you know, recruitment challenges, the quality of the workforce. And at the moment, it doesn't appear that a quick hit of, you know, millions of pounds is going to do that for us. I think if it did, I think I'd be saying to the council, look, you know, stop emptying bins and give me the money. You know, go to monthly bin collection, I would say, in order to pay. So that, you know, genuinely, I would push for something as radical as monthly bin collection to pay if I thought it would resolve recruitment issues. But I don't, you know, I'd also get them to increase the parking charges to pay social care a bit more as well. But it's difficult to have that fight if it's not going to show the benefit. Right, I can see the time. It's 1 minute past. I do actually have to go to a meeting. So I think the best thing for us to do, I can't see any other hands up, although
I just need to quickly
we
apologise.
were
for
getting
something.
into it. Okay, very quickly then. Naomi.
Sorry, it's just I got the timings wrong for the agenda. I thought it was 3 till 4:30, but it was
Oh.
2:30 till 4. No, so we're correct.
Okay.
But I'm sorry if I confused anyone from what I wrote.
Okay, no problem at all. So am I correct to close, or should we carry on?
No, you're correct. You're correct.
Okay.
I was wrong.
Okay.
I'll blame bank holiday.
Okay, delightful to see you all, and obviously those people I've seen on screen, you all look very cheerful and happy and healthy, which is great in what has been difficult times. So really nice to see you. If people have particular topics or conversations or things these meetings, we're more than happy to do it. So if if you want to have a longer conversation about pay, recruitment, I mean, nurses I know is a big issue for those that have nursing registration, relationships with the NHS, discharges, all of those things. If you would like to have a long conversation about that, either with or without presentations from others, then we're very open. We're not, we won't shy away from any of the difficult conversations at all. So please let either Richard, Naomi or Nathan know, and we'll make it an agenda item for a future meeting. So other than that, thank you to the team. Thank you to all of you who are providers, or all of us, because some of us have dual roles, who are providers, and have a nice rest of the week. Take care,
Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.